Welcome, you. Today we're going to share some truly unsettling stories. Sources detailing real-life, chilling encounters.
Yeah.
These are tales from places you'd think are safe. Places that turned out to be, well, anything but. We've got 4 different stories for you, each with its own kind of, dread.
And what's really compelling, I think, is how they tap into that really human fear. Unknown.
Right.
Lurking where things should be familiar.
Exactly, that discomfort when things are just off.
We assume safety, often. These stories really challenge that idea.
Okay, so let's get into the first one. This takes us to the countryside near Lexington, South Carolina. Pretty peaceful area, you'd think. We have 3 friends, the narrator, Jason and Brian. They just graduated, visiting Jason's new place, and they got completely lost hiking.
Easy to do in unfamiliar woods.
Totally. So they're disoriented, need a phone. Their only landmark is this river, so they decide, okay, let's follow the river. And as they're walking, they stumble upon this old church. Red bricks, kind of falling apart, dirt parking lot, dirt road leading up to it, all overgrown.
Nature taking it back.
Yeah. And they notice these 4 cars parked in a row, really old, like maybe 70s or 80s Novas, all rusted, flat tires, just sitting there. But then they hear music, gospel music, and singing coming from inside the church.
Ah, okay. So maybe not abandoned. Relief.
Huge relief. People, they figure, great, we can ask for help, use a phone. So they go up, push the door open, step inside. Small place. Maybe 24 people inside. Dressed simply, maybe looked a bit poor, but neat as they could be. And there's this old woman, white hair, horn-rimmed glasses, playing the piano.
Seems normal enough initially.
Right, it seemed okay for a second. But the moment their feet hit the floor inside, the piano stops. Dead silence. Singing stops. Everyone puts down their song sheets. And slowly, like all together, they turn their heads and they just look at these 3 friends with these vacant, totally unwelcoming stares. Just blank.
Chilling. That synchronized movement.
Jason, he kind of stammers out an apology, tries to explain, we're lost, sorry to interrupt, just need a phone. Nothing. Nobody says a word, just dead silence, except for like the creaking of the wooden pews.
That's terrifying.
The feeling was just ominous, pure fear. So they just slowly back out, pulled the door quietly shut, and got out of there.
I don't blame them.
As they're walking quick up the dirt road, Brian whispers, "Did you notice there weren't any crosses inside? No Christian symbols at all."
Oh, okay. That adds another layer.
And then they make the mistake of looking back. About a dozen people, all men, are standing outside the church now, just watching them intently.
Nope. Time to run.
Exactly. They bolted, sprinting through the woods, felt like half an hour, just pure panic. They finally bust out of the woods near this old, broken-down gas station. Full-service kind, but the shelves inside looked mostly empty, dusty. There's a guy behind the counter, swarthy, really tan, oily baseball cap, reading some raggedy old book.
Another character.
He looks up, kind of squints, says something like, "You boys lost, huh?" Gives them directions to the highway, so they thank him, start walking towards the telephone pole he pointed at.
Right.
And, they glance back. He's standing out front of the station now, arms folded, staring right at them, with this big, rotten-toothed grin.
Ugh, just one creepy thing after another.
Right. So they finally make it to a highway just as it's getting dark. A cop sees them, thankfully, pulls over. They explain everything, give Jason's address. The officer just whistles and says, "Wow, you boys were really lost."
Understatement.
He drives them back. And on the ride, he warns them, be careful in those woods. Used to be some crazy witch folks lived out there. Long time ago.
Wow. What a story. The silence, the staring. It's that violation of expectation, isn't it? A church should be welcoming.
Exactly.
And when it's not, when you get that collective silent hostility, it hits a primal fear. Being the outsider. And then being watched, followed almost. It's deeply unnerving.
That feeling of being watched,
That's right.
yeah, it really sticks with you. But sometimes the threat isn't just watching, sometimes it feels physical. Which brings us to our next story. Okay, this one happened about 8 years before the narrator told it. They were 19, with 2 friends, James and Sean, living in, and I quote, bumfuck, New Jersey.
It's descriptive.
You get the picture, young, bored, it's spooky season. So naturally, they decide, let's take a Ouija board to that abandoned church on the hill.
Of course, standard teenage plan.
This church was apparently well known locally
Yeah.
on this closed off, hilly road, abandoned for years. They had to park at the bottom, walk up, use just one flashlight at first, trying to be sneaky, then turn them all on once they got closer. Woods all around it, gravel parking lot, big front door was already kind of open, just a crack. It scraped like crazy on the floor when they pushed it open more.
Setting the mood already.
Oh yeah, inside, definitely creepy. Total darkness except for the flashlights. Sean gets out the Ouija board, then he pulls out 3 candles from his backpack, says it'll, add to the experience, places them in a triangle around the board.
Nice touch.
They light the candles, turn off the flashlights. Now it's really eerie. Just flickering candlelight, shadows everywhere. Hard to see much.
Uncomfortable vibe.
For sure. So they put their hands on the planchette. Sean starts asking the usual stuff. Is anybody there? It starts to move, and at first, they're just laughing, figuring one of them is messing around, pushing it, spelled out a few silly words.
The usual Ouija board fun until it isn't.
Exactly. Because then suddenly, this loud crack sound comes from the altar area. Like a big piece of wood just snapped in half.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was loud, made them all jump. They whip out their flashlights, shine them towards the altar. Nothing. Nobody there.
Okay, that's freaky.
Definitely freaked them out, but they kind of rationalized it away, like, oh, it's just an old building, stuff falls apart, nerves are shot, but they decide to keep going.
Brave? Or maybe foolish?
Maybe both. So they take turns asking questions now. But the planchette, it stopped moving. Maybe that sound made them take it too seriously, killed the vibe, I don't know. Silence again. Until they hear another noise from the altar. Softer this time.
Okay, now it's getting serious.
And then, get this. Before they can even turn their lights on or anything, something lands right on the Ouija board between their hands. Thud.
Lands. Whoa.
A rock, about the size of a golf ball, just appeared and landed right there.
Wait, their hands were on the planchette.
All 3 of them. Just had their fingers on it like 2 seconds before. No way any of them threw it. Impossible.
Okay, that's not explainable easily.
Explainable. They didn't try. They just screamed. Jumped up, ran, didn't grab the board, didn't grab the candles, just booked it out of the church.
Pure flight response.
Ran screaming all the way down the hill to the car, jumped in, drove straight to James's house, and just sat in the car outside for like half an hour, hearts pounding, like what just happened?
Processing the terror.
Yeah. Sean, he was religious, superstitious. He was convinced they contacted something, a spirit.
Makes sense from his perspective.
The narrator, though, didn't really buy the ghost thing, but the alternative. That someone else was in that dark church with them throwing rocks, found that idea just as terrifying.
Yeah, either option's pretty bad. Known or unknown threat.
So the next day, Sean and James actually went back, braver than me. They wanted to get the Ouija board.
Did they find it?
Get this, the board was gone. Vanished. But the 3 candles, still sitting there in their little triangle, exactly where they left them.
Okay, that's even weirder.
Seeing the board just gone like that, they didn't stick around, left immediately. The narrator says, to this day, single scariest experience of their life.
You go from playful curiosity, sort of tempting fate, to genuine terror. The cracking sound could be dismissed, maybe, but the rock, a physical object manifesting like that, it shatters your sense of reality.
Right.
It forces you to confront something beyond your understanding, or maybe, like the narrator thought, a very real, hidden human presence acting with intent. That jump from predictable to utterly unpredictable is terrifying.
That loss of control, yeah, it's chilling. Our next story also involves a church, but the threat here feels very, very human, and maybe even more disturbing because of it. This one's from Warren County, Georgia, a very rural place. The narrator and their girlfriend, Marissa, were actually looking at property there, thinking of moving, like the quiet, the space.
Looking for a peaceful life.
Exactly. They're both Roman Catholic. Marissa especially is pretty devout. So it's a weekday. Middle of the day, like noon, hardly any cars on the road. They drive past this little church, looks cute, kind of quaint, but the parking lot is surprisingly full.
Odd for a weekday afternoon.
Yeah, and it's near a property they just looked at. Marissa suggests, hey, let's pop in. Maybe mass is going on, see if it's a nice church. So the narrator pulls into the dirt lot. Notices most of the cars are older models. Marissa figures maybe it's just, a lower income congregation.
Plausible explanation.
They open the church door, step inside. Small place. Maybe 5 rows of pews on each side, but packed. At least 20 people in there. First weird thing they notice. The age. Usually churches have a mix, lots of older folks, right?
Yeah.
Here, looking at the backs of heads, everyone seemed to be in their 30s or 40s.
Huh. Unusual demographic.
They find a seat in the back row. Everyone seems to be sitting in total silence, like maybe silent prayer before mass starts. Then the people in the pew right in front of them start looking back, just turn their heads and stare.
Oh boy. Here we go again.
Then the people next to them notice them staring, so they turn and stare too. It just ripples through the room. One by one, everyone starts turning to look at them.
That collective, silent scrutiny.
Marissa and the narrator give each other these nervous looks. They try to offer like a little polite smile. Nobody smiles back. Just these intense, incredibly unwelcoming stares.
Zero warmth.
Then the narrator starts noticing other things. Nobody's dressed up like you would be for Mass. And maybe the most unsettling part, he realizes Marissa is the only woman in the entire church.
What?
Yeah. And the way they're staring, it seems more focused on her than on him.
Okay, that's definitely alarming.
Suddenly, a guy up at the front near what looked like the altar steps forward. He's wearing a mask.
A mask.
Yeah, not like a COVID mask, something else. And he points right at them and asks, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Who invited you here?"
Wow. Direct confrontation.
The narrator quickly tries to explain, "Oh, sorry, we were just passing by, saw the cars, thought Mass was on," but it's immediately obvious. This guy isn't a priest, this isn't a Catholic church, this is something else.
Clearly not Mass.
The masked man doesn't even react to the explanation, just says flatly, "You need to leave now." And by this time, every single person is just locked onto them, staring.
Okay, now.
Narrator doesn't need telling twice. Grabs Marissa, "Come on," and they hurry out, practically run to their car, get in, lock the doors, peel out of that dirt parking lot fast. But as they're driving away, glancing in the rearview mirror, someone comes out of the church, gets into a gray van parked there.
What?
Narrator hopes maybe they're just leaving too. But no. A minute later, there's the gray van in the mirror, and it's catching up.
They're being followed.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Marissa frantically pulls up GPS for the Warren County Sheriff's Office. They drive straight there. The whole way, the van stays behind them. Not tailgating, but close enough. Obvious they're being followed.
Terrifying. Just relentless.
The second they pull into the sheriff's office parking lot, which is clearly marked Public Safety Building, the van just keeps going, drives right past down the road and disappears.
As soon as they reached safety, the pursuit stopped.
Exactly. Once the van was gone, they didn't even get out, just drove straight home. And yeah, they never looked at property in Warren County again.
Can't say I blame them.
The narrator figures it must have been some kind of cult meeting, but still wonders, why follow them? Why meet in broad daylight? Why wasn't the door locked if it was private? So many weird questions.
It's a chilling example of stumbling into a space you don't belong, where the social rules are completely different and hostile. That collective stare, the mask, the direct challenge, the pursuit, it's all designed to intimidate, to enforce boundaries.
Right.
The ambiguity makes it worse. Why weren't they stopped? Why the unlocked door? It leaves you grappling with something that feels both dangerous and illogical. It's that violation of expected safety in a communal space turned into a threat.
That violation of safety in a place you expect it, that leads perfectly into our final story. And this one is deeply disturbing. It comes from the narrator's own childhood. They were about 8 years old, a Cub Scout. But the disturbing part actually started a few days before the main incident. At Sunday Mass, the narrator, their mom, and brother are there, sitting in the back corner. At some point, the narrator notices this older guy, glasses, white mustache, standing against the wall nearby, just looking at them.
Maybe just observing.
Maybe. But when the narrator, being a kid, glances over, the man smiles this really weird smile and makes what the narrator called a stupid, creepy face. Just instantly felt wrong, uncomfortable, even to an 8-year-old.
Kid intuition is powerful.
Totally. The narrator tries to look away, ignore him. But out of the corner of their eye, they can see the man keeps looking over every few seconds, making another weird face each time. Their mom notices the narrator fidgeting, asks what's wrong. Narrator points. Mom sees the guy, taps the narrator, whispers, "Just ignore him," but gives the man this really dirty look. He eventually walks away.
Good on the mom for noticing and reacting.
Yeah. But later, narrator goes up for communion, comes back to the seat. The man is back, standing in the same spot, staring and smiling that creepy smile the entire time.
Persistent, that's unsettling.
Mom notices again. Since they'd already received communion, she just says, "Okay, let's go," and they leave Mass early. On the way out, the mom says, "I didn't like the way that man was looking at you," specifically at the narrator.
Validating the child's feeling. Important.
Very. Okay, fast forward a few days. Cub Scout meeting. It's being held in a Catholic elementary school attached to the church. Towards the end of the meeting, they're doing a scavenger hunt. Find the first aid kit, find a flashlight, that kind of thing. The narrator isn't having much luck, wandering around, ends up exploring parts of the school they hadn't seen before, little hallways, back areas.
You can get lost in the building.
Yeah. Finds himself in this really narrow hallway, back of the cafeteria near the kitchen. There's one of those big upright ice cream fridges there, the kind with the glass door. Narrator figures, okay, quick snack, nobody will see. Sneakily opens the fridge to grab an ice pop.
Kid logic.
As they're doing that, they hear a man's voice right next to them, to their right.
Oh no.
It's the man, the same man from the church. He walks right over, smiling that same smile. Says something like, "Don't let them see you taking that."
Try to create complicity.
He shuts the fridge door, grabs the narrator's hand, and says, "I've got some better treats in the back where the kids aren't allowed."
Alarms bells. Major alarm bells.
The narrator is instantly scared, pulls their hand away, tries to walk past him back towards the main area, but the man grabs their wrist tight.
Physical restraint. Okay, this escalated fast.
He shushes the narrator, says, "Calm down," but the narrator panics and yells, "Help!" Just screams it out.
Correct.
The man lets go immediately, says, "Stop it," like he's annoyed.
The audacity.
Narrator doesn't wait, runs straight back to the gym where the main group is, finds their cub master, tells him everything that just happened. Thankfully, the cub master was a good guy, took it seriously, immediately went and got the narrator's mom, who was there to pick them up. Narrator confirms, yes, it was the same man from the church just days before.
Thank goodness for responsible adults listening.
Absolutely. It turns out the man worked for the church, lived on the church grounds, which is why he was in the school.
Access. Opportunity.
But here's the part that makes you sick. Later on, allegations came out against that same man. An altar boy's parents reported him, said he had touched their son inappropriately.
There it is. Confirmation of the danger.
The narrator just thinks back to that moment, him saying better treats where kids aren't allowed, and feels sick imagining what could have happened if they'd actually gone with him.
A narrow escape.
They don't know for sure if the man went to prison, but they know the church definitely cut all ties with him after the allegations.
This story is just deeply disturbing. It perfectly highlights how predators can operate in plain sight, using positions of trust or familiarity within institutions we perceive as safe.
Exactly, like a church or a school.
And it powerfully underscores a child's intuition. That initial creepy face, that feeling of discomfort, it was a valid warning sign. It's a stark reminder of why we must listen to those feelings, and why adults need to validate and act on children's reports, even if they seem small at first. The betrayal of trust in such a setting is profound.
It really is. These stories, wow. From, the chilling silence in that church in the woods, the impossible rock appearing on the Ouija board, the masked cult meeting, to this predator hiding in plain sight, they all really hammer home how vulnerable we can feel, how quickly our sense of safety can just shatter. It's a reminder, isn't it, that the most terrifying things sometimes aren't hiding in the shadows. They're right there, in places we know, places we trust.
Absolutely. What connects them all is that disruption of order, the violation of expectation.
Yeah.
A hike becomes a chase. A game becomes terrifyingly real. A church visit becomes an intimidation ritual. A place of worship becomes a hunting ground.
Yeah.
And it leaves us with a really difficult question, doesn't it? How do we balance our need for safety and trust with the undeniable reality that danger can and does emerge from the most unexpected corners of our world?
That's a heavy thought to end on. And that wraps up our stories for today. We really hope these accounts give you something to think about. Maybe look over your shoulder once or twice. If you found these stories as unsettling and, frankly, captivating as we did, please do us a favor. Like this, share it, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs.
Helps us bring more stories like these to light.
It really does. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, stay curious.
And stay safe out there.